All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the workshop on Flutter and Web Development. And this is a part of the GDG on Campus Presents Solution Challenge powered by Hack to Skill. I'm Uzma, and I'll be your host for today's session. This is the third workshop and quite a comprehensive one since we'll be covering Flutter and web development both. So before we begin, I'd just like to request everyone to please keep their mics on mute during the session. We'll have a Q&A session for both Flutter and for web development separately. So you'll have your time to get your questions answered. Before we get started, I'd just like to give a little bit of an introduction about the solution challenge. As you might know, it is organized by GDG on Campus in collaboration with Hack to Skill for student developers like yourself from various colleges across the country. And it's a great opportunity for student developers to tackle real-world issues such as the problems in education or healthcare and the barriers that people face and sustainability and so much more. So you can solve all of these problems using Google Developer Technologies in this hackathon. And you can not just gain invaluable skills, but you can also make a larger positive impact in the society. Let's talk about the timeline for the session. The timeline, as of now, where we stand in the registration phase, which will go on till 6th of March. This phase also includes workshops such as this one, and these are scheduled regularly to make sure that you upskill and you shine bright in your solution challenge. You will have up until 28th March to submit your projects, and then we'll evaluate your projects and announce the top 100 teams on April. This will be followed by personalized mentorship sessions, and then you'll have to submit your final prototypes by 25th May. And after evaluating those, we will announce the top 10, and those teams will be invited to the grand finale in the second week of July. So that is pretty much it for the timeline. A lot of you may already know that the offline bootcamps, which were open earlier for only a select few teams who would be invited, especially for this after an idea submission, this entire thing has changed now. Now the offline bootcamps are open to all, and anybody can join the bootcamps as long as you are a registered participant of the solution challenge. And you might have received an email today about all these changes. So you will get a form. You will get an RSVP form early in February where you can confirm your attendance. Once you fill the form, you will receive a confirmation email, and that will be it for the bootcamps. So now all of you can participate. You don't have to submit any ideas or any other PPT decks or anything. Now it's open for all. So we hope to see you there. Now, before we move further, we have also been receiving a lot of queries about the resources that we have provided. Some of you are asking about domain claiming, some of you are asking about other things. So here, if you go to the website, if you go to Solution Challenge website and you head to the resources section, you will find these resources. There's the social toolkit where you find all the promotional content that there is from hackathon emails and social media posts that you can make from your GDG on campus accounts. And we have the content palette, which is a whole document full of resources and information about various different technologies that you can use in your solutions. The goal of this is to give you all the resources that you need to build on your knowledge and use them to make your solution incredible. We also have the process of redeeming free cloud credits. So we have made a document outlining each and every step. And lastly, we have the domain claiming process that includes all the steps you need to follow if you want to claim a domain for your project. This also has a form linked within the document that you can fill if you want a domain. Now, if you want any other motivation to participate in the solution challenge, there's a cash pool prize of 8 lakhs with the winning solution taking 2 lakhs, and that is followed by 1.5 lakhs for the first runner-up and 1.25 lakhs for the second runner-up. We will also have 2 special category awards who will win 75,000 each. Apart from these cash prizes, the top 100 teams will also get certificates of achievements, and the top teams will also get the chance to attend Google's career fair. So there's a lot to take away from this entire experience. So I encourage you to make the most out of it and give it your best shot. Now, moving on to the main session today, we have Ms. Debasmita Sarkar, a senior mobile developer at AutoNation USA. She will be talking about Flutter development, and she's here. She has taken out the time to be here. So over to you, Debasmita. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for such a nice introduction. Okay, so yeah, welcome to the Flutter workshop. So I suppose you don't know anything about Flutter and you are just starting out, and I will keep the session super beginner friendly. And if you think that it's very beginner and you need something else, so I can dynamically modify it. So you can just put that in the chat if you want to have some widgets, maybe some part of Flutter you want to explore. So I will start sharing my screen, and I suppose you already have Flutter installed, and just a second. Okay. And if you don't have Flutter installed, that's also fine. We're going to go through that installation as well. Okay. I hope you guys can see the screen.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Okay, let's start with Flutter and Dart. So what is Flutter? So Flutter is basically Google's open source UI software development toolkit. So the good thing about Flutter is when you work with Flutter, when you build applications with Flutter, that can work in iOS, Android, web, and any other platforms that you find, like desktop, what else? Raspberry Pi, anything is possible, right? So Flutter is very easy to understand and easy to learn. So we're going to get into that. And so you probably would have this question in your mind. We have native app development frameworks like Android and iOS. So why would you learn Flutter? So in a way, when you start creating an application, if you have to create 2 different application with 2 different technologies, it's going to be a hassle, right? You have to learn Swift for iOS, or you have to learn Kotlin or Java for Android. But with Flutter, you just can learn the language Dart and the Flutter framework. And the apps that you're going to develop is high performant, just like the native apps. So I'm going to go ahead and I think we already covered it. I'll just skip through some of the slides. Okay, so what we will learn. So we have a very short time. So I will try to cover everything a little bit, but I'll not go deep into a lot of things. So in this session, you can expect to build a basic Flutter application. So we'll basically start with Flutter, what is Flutter, and then the language behind Flutter, which is Dart. So we'll cover some of the Dart basic things. And then I guess you already have Flutter installed. If you don't, I can explain that a little bit. And then we'll go into widgets. If you don't understand widget, that's totally fine. I'll try to explain that as well. And then we will have a 2-page application, a very simple application. And yeah, then basically going from one page to another page and just creating that app. Cool. So let's start with Dart basics. So as I already mentioned, Dart is the language behind Flutter. So whenever you write any Flutter framework code, it has to be in Dart. Now, if you are familiar with C++, Java, or maybe JavaScript, it's very easy to pick Dart. Okay. So we're going to talk about the main function, which is the entry point of any language. I think in Java as well, it's main, right? And then what are the variables and types? These are some basic things. Control flow, like if else, then example of functions and classes. We just need this bit to work with the application that we're going to build. So this is how a Dart main function looks like. You don't have to copy it right away. You just can follow through. If you have any questions, just put that in the chat. So there's this main function, and you see that there's this print statement, I guess in Java as well, and in other languages, print mostly. And our application is going to be, like, I made this workshop when India was launching Chandrayaan. So the theme is basically going to moon. Okay, so after that, the variables and types. It's super basic. Dart has numbers, strings, booleans, lists. So lists are basically arrays, and sets as well, maps, and the value null. So now null is a little bit different than any other technologies, any other languages. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later when we explain this. Okay, so numbers. There are 2 types of numbers that we already know. It can be either integer or double or floating point numbers, right? So it's super simple here as well. You write int and then a variable name, and then you put the number. In case of double or float, we write double, and you just assign that value, right? Going ahead, strings, again, super simple. You just mention that this is a string, and you put that variable name. You assign the string to that variable. Again, Boolean, super easy, true or false, right? Then there comes lists, which are basically arrays. So lists are a representation or a collection of items which have a specific order. So let's say list of integers. This is prime number, and maybe basically a list of planets, which could be like list of strings, right? And you can have a list of classes as well, or list of objects as well. Now, the difference between list and set is sets are unique. So there would be unique items. Even if you assign, let's say 2, 2, 4, 6, then 8, 8, 10. If you assign this to the even numbers and you just print it, those are going to be ignored. So that's how you basically, these are basically collection of super unique items or unique numbers. Then going ahead, map, it's basically key value pairs. So key can be either integer, string, any types, and the values can be any types as well. And this is how we write a map. So map keyword, and then there would be the type of the key, which is string here, and the type of the value, which is string here again. If I had, let's say, a name and a roll number associated in the map, then I would have written probably string for the name, and for the roll number, it could be integer, right? Now, null. So earlier Dart had, so every object could be null. So basically, null is absence of any value. When you do not assign any value to a variable, it can be null. Earlier it was like that. Now Dart basically has a different approach to it. So if you have a string, let's say, this is an uninitialized string, which could be null at some point. So you just put this null operator to let Dart or Flutter know that you probably know that this string is going to be null for some time, or maybe like you don't want to initialize this string. So that's basically the type of darts. Now, this is how you write variables. At this point of like Dart version, you don't have to mention the type of the variable. So this is basically inferred. So when you write variable number 1, Dart knows that this is integer. And how it knows is when you assign that value to the variable. So if I would have assigned 1.5, then Dart would understand that this is a double value, not a integer value. Now, again, I think this is very basic control flow statements. There are like if, else, while, do, while, for loops. So I have written an example of if, else. And I think there are, yeah, I skipped the example of while, do, while, and for loop. It's pretty simple. In for loop also you write for, then from a certain number to a certain number, you can just iterate that loop. If we need for loop and example of do, while, and while, you could find those examples in Dart. I think there is this Dart language like site. So I think it's dart.dev. You can find those there as well. Now, functions. These are super important. So functions are basically a block of code where you ask that block of code to do some work for you, and it does the exact same thing. So here in this block of code, I'm just asking Dart to like create like return me a square of numbers with which I'll provide the number, and it will basically send me back the square of that number, right? So if you notice here, this is the return type, and this is the function name, and these are the parameters, and this is how you write parameters. There are different ways to write parameters as well. We're going to see that in our code example. So this is another function which I explained at the start. This is the entry point of Dart. So when you write void main, this is where Dart would start executing everything. And so here I have written like I have assigned the result of square of 5, and I've printed this. So this print is also a function. Okay, moving ahead. Now, I guess you already know about classes. So classes are a blueprint of creating objects. Now, let's say this is a laptop, right? So a laptop can have certain characteristics or certain specifications, right? So laptop can have a brand, it can have battery percentage, it can have some stickers, and so this laptop could be of like the color of the laptop could be different, the OS of the laptop could be different. So all those specifications you can write in a class. Another example would be, let's say, a student, right? So a student can have a name, a roll number, and basically I think scores. So all those specifications could be written in a class. And when you write a class, you can create objects from that. So with this laptop class, I would be able to create some laptops providing the different brand name, different percentage of battery probably. So you know this, I think I have written this for some example, but the main thing is, let's say, the brand. So if I provide, let's say, Apple laptop, a Windows laptop, so I'd be able to create objects from this laptop class. Okay, so and in class, obviously, like when you write a class, you want to create some objects. And this is how you create the object with the help of constructor. So in this constructor, I'm providing the brand name, and then few other properties are getting initialized, but the main thing is I'm providing the brand name, and that gives me an object of this class. This is the same example where I'm providing, okay, this is an Apple brand laptop. Now, I will try to ask if I'll just stop sharing my screen, and I'll try to ask if you have anything so far. Otherwise, I can move ahead with Flutter. I guess we are good. Okay. Did you guys install Flutter already? If you did not, then you can install it from here. I already have Flutter installed in my laptop, so I can just explain this a bit. Let me just share my entire screen. Okay. So in Flutter dev website, you'd be able to see the Flutter installation links. So you go to your like specific OS, and then just a second. Yeah, I guess. Cool. So there's these are the steps to install Flutter if you have VS Code, and if you don't have VS Code, I was just trying to find this. So if you don't have VS Code, you can just install the version from here. This is the latest version of Flutter. You will find the older versions in some other branches as well, other links as well. But if you, I have Mac, so I have installed this version. And after the successful installation, you have to add the environment variables in Windows, and in Mac you can edit your, what does it call, the, just a second. Okay, I think it's the ZSH file, or something which is similar. You can provide the path of Flutter there. So after you have installed Flutter successfully, you can run Flutter Doctor. So let me just do that here. Now at this point, if I run Flutter Doctor, okay, you can see all the summaries of Flutter. If you have something which is crossed out, you have to fix those. Like I did not have these command line tools for Android are missing, so I have to run those to make it right. And then you see Xcode is installed, Chrome is there, other stuff is there as well. Just follow through this, whatever is written here. If you find any error, just try to solve that. Okay. Now, this is how you create a Flutter project. You write Flutter create and the project name, and then you get the dependencies. So we will move into that. I have my VS Code open. Should I make the fonts a little bigger? I think so. This works, right? Okay, so the command is Flutter create, and you put the application name. Once you do that, it has already created or downloaded the local, all the packages, the local files, and you can see a folder. So I'm just gonna go to this Flutter workshop folder, or maybe I can open it from here. Okay, so you see here after you have installed, so basically created the application, you can see a couple of folders here. So I'm not going to explain everything, which is, let's talk about the ones which are most important. I'll start with this Pubspec YAML. So if you see, there are a lot of things here, right? So this is the dependency folder of your Flutter application. You have so you have provided, like I provided this name. So the name of the application is this. You can write a description, and you can, if you want to publish this application to App Store and Play Store, you can remove this. Now we don't have to worry about this. I'm just going to remove these comments. So that's super easy to kind of understand. Okay. So once you do that, this is your app version, and this is the Dart SDK that we have installed. Now, if you see, there are a few dependencies, like Flutter itself, the SDK is a dependency, and then there are a few other dependencies like Cupertino icons. So these icons, as said, these are for iOS icons or styles. So let's move ahead, and so whenever you like write any third-party dependencies, you can write it here. Let's say you want to have HTTP, so you can specify the specific version here. Now, let's talk about the folder where we're going to have all the action, which is this lib folder. One more thing, if you notice, once I created the Flutter application, there are few folders. See this Linux folder? So it has all the things related to Linux. So the application can run in Linux, iOS, Android, Mac OS, and web as well. There's Windows as well. So the main action folder, which is the lib folder. So now if you go here, this would be the entry point of your application. So as I explained already in Dart, the main entry point of any application or language is the main function. And so this is already there. So like from here, Flutter starts executing whatever you write, right? So if you notice the first line, which is run application. So Flutter comes here and runs the application, whatever you have written. So I'm going to explain this a little bit more, but before that, let's talk about the architecture of Flutter a bit. So this is like a little complex, but I'm going to keep it very simple. So since we already know that Flutter will run in any platforms, so there is this embedded layer, which is platform specific. So for iOS, this layer is which is different. So it talks to the platform. For Android as well, this code would be a little different to understand that platform or that operating system. Right. On top of that, we have Flutter's engine. So this is the core Flutter like code, which kind of does rendering. It has the platform channels. It has input output. It has Dart as well. So we're not going to write our code here. Now, this is the part of the framework where you would write code. So this is the foundation layer, and on top of that, so this is the most raw layer. And once you go above from here, it's easier to write and understand code because you don't have to write any very raw or basic code, right? So, but it is the entire framework is built on top of this foundation layer. You ideally can write code or change or modify code here as well in any of these layers. Okay, so as I talked about, these embedded layers are platform dependent, and then we have the engine, and this is where we would write our code. And this is the part which, these are the parts which we will use to write our code. So it's very, what do you say, very it's not super deep, but it's easier for now to understand where actually you would write your application. So this would be your application repo. Okay, so I'm not going into the material widgets and stuff. Okay. Okay, so let's try to understand what we already have here as the basic Flutter application, right? If you are following along, try to remove these comments once you create the Flutter application. And okay, I think this should be good. Okay. So everything in Flutter is widget. So whatever classes you see in Flutter would be a widget. Now, what are widgets, right? So widgets are the building blocks of Flutter. So everything just like the, we talked about the foundation layer, right? So to write the foundation layer, Flutter team has used widgets. So these are the building blocks, and what you will write in Flutter are mostly widgets. So there are kind of two types of widget. So one is stateless widget and another one is stateful widget, right? So a super simple example is like when you go like driving or maybe going in road or walking, you can see the stop signs, right? That stop sign doesn't change. But if you have noticed this traffic signals, they change, right? So think of the stateless widget as the stop sign. It actually is quite dumb. So whatever we want this to show, it will show that, but it will not have any brain of its own. Wherever this stateful widget or this traffic signal has some logic built into it, right? So it knows when it needs to show the red light or the green or the yellow light. So as anyway, Flutter example would be a checkbox. So you have probably noticed when you tap on a checkbox, it goes to green, and then if you tap again, it will be unchecked. Okay, so with this understanding, let's again move here. So as I talked about, everything is a widget. So if you see here in this application, the My App is also a widget. If you go inside the stateless widget, Flutter is open source, so you can see every part of the framework, you can access everything, right? So you can see that this is also a widget. Now, widgets has few properties, right? So in this class, we have my app as a widget, and then material app, and they have few properties. So let's just try to run this and see what's happening inside. If you are using VS Code, you can just select your device from here. If you don't have anything installed, you can just use Chrome as well. So I'm just going to run this and see, let's see what's the default application that Flutter has provided. Okay, it's going to take some time. So let's move ahead and see what we are trying to build today. Okay, so these are some examples of widget. Let's say Scaffold, right? So when you start creating any application, it's just a blank canvas. So that blank canvas is a Scaffold widget. So you can draw your other widgets on top of it. And this is how you write a scaffold. Now, Scaffold has different properties, right? So if you see in any mobile application, there is this top header, which we called appbar. That's also an widget. This app bar can have different other things like a drawer menu. It can have some actions like this details menu button as well, and few other stuff. And this is how you write an app bar. Going ahead. So inside this app bar, if you see this page title, and if you till now noticed, it's also a widget. So everything is a widget, right? So this is a text, and text can be either, there can be different properties of text, like it can be simple text, it can be italics, it can be bold. So you can apply all those stylings in text widget. This is how you write a text widget. Going ahead, these are kind of layout widgets of Flutter. So let's say you want to align, okay, our app is connected and ready. Okay, let's talk about row and column later. Let's just first understand what's happening here. So I have, this is the basic application that Flutter gave us. And see, there's this app bar, which is there. Inside that, this demo application. And if I tap on this button, it kind of calculates how many times I have tapped on the button. So this is the basic setup that has given by Flutter. So let's just remove everything from here, or maybe let's just remove everything from here. Okay. Okay, so from the entry point, you are trying to run this My application. Now, this material app kind of provides, this widget provides like few styling, like by default, what your application theme would be, what your button colors would be. So all those you can set up here. And then you see there's this home page, which would be your first page of the application. So let's just write a class and try to see how we can write a class. Let me just stop this. Okay, it's not stopping. Cool, no worries. Okay, so we will write a class like my home page. Now, since this is also a widget, when you write a class in Flutter, which is a widget, you either extend the stateless widget or the stateful widget. Now, I don't want Flutter, I don't want to interact or change anything in this widget in the home page. So I'll just write stateless widget. Now, if you see, there's something wrong here. So let's just see what are the properties that we have to override to make this work. Now, every stateless or stateful widget will have a build method. So this is where you write your code, and that is what is going to be displayed on the screen. So if you noticed, we already talked about this blank canvas, right? So let's just write a blank canvas first. Now, we already talked about appbar, right? So it has few properties. So let's just write a super simple appbar which contains this text. Okay, once I save it, there is some error here, right? Let's just resolve this. I'm not providing any title. So once I save this, what's happening? Okay, you see this hello Flutter, right? We did not have any other styling. So it's just a blank canvas and it's text on top of that. Now, so this was the app bar, right? Which would appear at top. And let's provide a background color here. Otherwise, it's not noticeable at all. So I can provide, this is how we write color in Flutter. So it can be so let's say, how do you know what would be the class or the object that you would provide here? So in VS Code, if you hover over background color, you can see that type of the object that you have to provide. Let's say red. So that background color has changed. Now, we already noticed that Scaffold has appbar, which is the top one, and it also has a body. So let's just write a body as well. So I'll write a container. Container is basically something which can contain other widgets. So container can be a box. Inside that box, you can write text, you can put image, you can put anything else as well. So let's see what are the properties that container has. It has a child. So let's say I want to have a row, right? So now, what is a row? So we already talked about, I think we did not talk about row. We were talking about this other widgets. So row is where you want to align your widgets in horizontal or linear layout. So if I create a row and row actually accepts children, and I can provide 3 more containers here. You can provide height and width in container. Okay, I think I made a little mistake here. This would come on top. Yes. So you can provide height and width to a container. So let's say the height of this container is what, 600. Width of this container can be, let's say, 500. Or how about I put the entire screen width and the entire screen height? How do we do that, right? So you can use this media query dot of context, the size dot height, same thing, same goes with the width as well. Instead of height, you will put the width. So it will take the entire screen's width and height. Now here, in our children widget, sorry, I'll just put the height and width. Height, let's say 30 or 20. And width can be 20 as well. And I'll just copy this and repeat this for 3 times. Let's just format this code a bit. Okay, so we have this body where the body takes the entire height and width. Let me put a color on this as well. Let's say yellow. Okay, our containers are very small. Okay, now you see row is a widget which aligns its children horizontally. Now what happens if I don't use a row, if I try to use a column, right? So column also aligns its children, but in vertical way. So instead of row, I can just replace this with column. And this would be vertical, right? I'll just skip the stack and go to the buttons right away. Okay, so far, you know already everything in Flutter is a widget. So how about we write some buttons? So there can be different type of buttons in Flutter. It's elevated button, outlined button, and there are other buttons as well. So I'm going to write an elevated button. And let's say in this container itself, now it says on pressed is required. So since this is a button, there are a few properties that you have to give. Okay, child is required. And you can write that this is a button. Once I do that, you can see that this button is ready as well. And if I tap on it, okay, let's just clear everything in console. So once I tap on this button, it shows button pressed. Okay, so you can, so basically you can write any function here. You can write like whatever this button is supposed to do. Let's say now we did not talk about, so we talked about the button. We did not talk about any dynamic things or changing things in this screen, right? So how about initially we saw that in the initial example, if you tap on any button, it will show you the count, right? So how about we create something like that, but instead of having the count, what we will do is we will change the color of the of all the containers here, right? So let me just create some separation here. You can create spaces in between containers using sized box, or you can also wrap these containers using padding. Okay, so now how about on click of this button, we change everything to green, right? So for that, we already assigned these colors to these containers, right? So I'm creating a variable button pressed false. Now, if I see that the button pressed variable is true, I'll change the colors, right? So to write that, I can't assign the hard-coded colors here, right? So what I'll do is I'll say if button is pressed, then colors would be, all the colors would be green. Okay, so it's better to have the color in a variable. So this is the ternary operator, where you see if button is pressed, then you write green, or otherwise the color would be red. So same goes for other colors as well. Okay, for this, let's not change this because it's already green. Okay, so in this function, in this onPressed method, I'll change the button pressed, right? So if button pressed was false, we would have button pressed as true. Okay, I think we are good, right? If I tap on this button, it should change the colors. But see, if I tap on it, this actually doesn't change the colors. But is the function not working? Let's test that as well. I think it's working fine because it's printing, right? So something is missing. So in case of Flutter, once the layout has been rendered, you have to, if you want to change the layout, you have to tell Flutter that you have already changed the layout, and Flutter should rebuild all of its widgets, right? So to do that, the basic way you can do is to use set state. So set state is also a method which tells Flutter that if something is changed, it has to rebuild the entire widget. Yes, I think this works. Something is wrong. State. Oh, okay. I forgot to do one thing. This is a good thing as well. So remember at this, so this doesn't, if I only write set state here and try to tap on the button, this doesn't work again. And why is that? Because remember in this example here, we talked about stateless widget and stateful widget, right? So since stateless widget doesn't have any brain of its own, so it cannot change it can't change whatever you have displayed before, and it cannot have any state of its own. So what we're trying to do here is this button pressed is a variable which we are changing on press of the button, and we expect Flutter to re-render it. So there is some logic involved, right? So now we can't make do with stateless widget. So we have to use stateful widget. So this widget can change dynamically, right? So now what you are going to do is, if you are using VS Code, is super easy. You can tap on it. You see this bulb here. You can see convert to a stateful widget. Once I do that, you see two classes has been created. This is our stateful widget class, and this one is the state of the this stateful widget, right? So let's not go super deep into it. So what we were trying to do is calling set state, right? So now let's do that. Button pressed. What do you think? If I tap on it, it should work? I think so, right? Tap on it again, but this variable gets reset, and according to our logic, it should show the original colors. Okay, I think it's already time, so I could not complete everything. So I'm gonna just stop here, and I can share this slide deck with you. And I have already made this Flutter workshop in my Git. So this repo is there. There are 3 branches. This is the initial branches that you can clone, and then you can check the step 1 with the widgets. You can go to the navigation as well. So initially what we were trying to build here was this. So it had 2 pages. You could see some animation, but I think it's at this point it would be super early to get into this, and it's going to take a lot of time. But if you follow through this repo, you'd be able to do so. So let me just stop right here. If you have any questions, just let me know.
There was a question on YouTube asking, can you tell us how to use the code which is taken from GitHub in VS Code?
Yes, like my repo.
I mean, that they don't say.
Okay. I think what the person is trying to, how to clone the repo. So basically, like, this is the repo. It's just like any other repo. So if you see here, you can either clone this link, the HTTPS version, or the SSH. Yeah, that's how you clone this repo or any other repo, I guess. And I will paste the. Does it work if I like give the link here in the Google chat?
Yeah, sure. A lot of people are asking for the PPT on YouTube as well, so I'll just post it there. You can, yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me just post the link of the slide deck as well. And as always, if you have any questions, just reach out to me in LinkedIn. This was like super basic version. But yeah, if you're interested, probably we can do something more as well.
Great. So I'll just say there are more questions on YouTube. Yeah, there's one more question. How does Flutter's web rendering engine differ from its mobile rendering engine, and what are the performance implications when building a web app with it?
So basically, like in Flutter, when you are using Flutter Web, so I think like last I have explored, everything was drawn on canvas. So whatever you had written would be loaded initially at the start of your application, and the code, whatever you will write, the widgets would be exactly same. There are few packages which would be different. I guess they have different versions for web or the mobile. But yeah, other than that, everything is basically same.
Thank you for that. I'm just checking if there are more.
Sure.
Someone is asking, how does Flutter handle state management in a web application, and what are the best practices for efficient state updates and minimal re-renders in a Flutter web project?
So it's actually similar for even for mobile web. So state management, set state, which I have shown, is very basic. So if you are learning Flutter, provider would be something that you can explore, which is super easy to understand. And then if you have a very complex project, then either go with I guess Riverpod or Block. And so Block is very neat and clean. You have to write a little more code, but the states are very well defined. So to ensure minimal rebuilds, of course, do state management, and keep your widget, like you can keep create very small widgets, modular widgets, so that that portion of the widget which needs to change only will rebuild.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I don't think there are any other questions. If anybody here has any questions, please feel free to just type it in the chat box, and Devaswita is here to answer them. So, yeah, no more questions for now, Devaswita. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking out the time to take this session. It really means a lot. Oh, we have a question. How and when to start for Flutter?
Okay. How and where to start for Flutter? So go to flutter.dev. There are good code labs. If you are like article person, then go through any Medium blogs. There are a lot of courses on Medium. And then there are like if you are a video person, then probably head over to YouTube. There are a lot of video courses as well. I don't want to like name someone, but yeah, there are very good courses. And if like I actually started Flutter reading through Flutter docs. So if you are into that, then you can read through docs as well. Cool. I guess this is it. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
So, everyone here, the session is not yet over. We just had Devasmita here tell us about Flutter development. Now we have Mr. Rijraj Singh, who will be talking about web development. So, Rijraj, I believe you are here.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to the session. Thank you so much for taking out the time.
Yes. Welcome. Okay.
Over to you.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. So hi, hello everyone. My name is Rijraj. I'm a GD for five, and I'm leading a tech permit communities, and talking about myself more, like I'm working as a CTO at AppBar, and also I'm leading head of developer relations team at Limitic AI, which is agentic platform where we can create agents or like AI agents. So I'm also working on multiple technologies like PWA, Firebase, AMP, Google Chrome, or maybe the Google Cloud Platform. So if you have any questions, like feel free to connect with me, and I'm happy to help you in terms of like the mentorship and all. So today, like I'm talking about like the web ecosystem, like how we can enable the multimodalities or AI ecosystem in our web, the era. So so like in this talk, like I'll start with the web ecosystem, like the basic fundamentals, like how we can getting started our career in the web part. And then I'll talk about like the LLMs, the large language models, how we can use the capabilities, how we can enable these capabilities over the web ecosystem. And then we'll show you how we can create a simple applications, or maybe how we can create a very fast rapid applications with the help of the Gemini part. So let's get started. So talking about our region, like India, here we have around 932 monthly maintenance active users are using internet over 932 million smartphone devices. So here we have great opportunities, like the opportunities can be anything, like you can create a mobile solutions, or you can create a web applications, or it may be it's totally up to you, like you can create an e-commerce website, or maybe you can create a solutions that can create an impact, or it's totally up to you what type of problems you are solving. So talking about specifically for the web ecosystem, so web is just like as a the infrastructure where we can share the informations with the help of network. And information can be anything, like you can share the net information via text file, audio file, or maybe the PDF file with the help of a network. So this can be considered as a the web part. And if I talk about more, like we can access these informations with the help of these submarine cables. So these cables are deployed in the multiple continents, and you can able to see the the internet or the website, or we can say the informations. And you can see the real-time informations about the submarine cables. So you can go to the link submarinecablemaps.com, and then you can find the informations. So now I'll talk about the web ecosystem. So talking about specifically for the web solutions. So web has the three core fundamentals. The fundamental is same thing, like the first one is the website. Like we can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript part. And which HTML is for creating a structure, CSS is for the design, and the JavaScript is for the the creativity and interactivity that we can apply in the web pages. And once you have created a website, we need a browser where we can test our web pages. So browser is just like as a software that we can install in our system, and then we can able to see the website, the look and feel. And in the market, we have a multiple browsers. So each browser have their specific rendering page that will, the render the, the HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript part into the UI, and then you will be able to see the website. So this is a basic core functionalities like about the rendering engine, or we can say how browser is working. So in the market, we have a multiple browsers. Like here we have Google Chrome, like you can use Blink, like which is a main rendering engine for Google Chrome, or for JavaScript we are using Chrome V8 engine, and then for Microsoft Edge we have Edge HTML and the Chakra for JavaScript part. So once you have created a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript part, and then you have tested the website with the help of your browser, then we need a server. So server is just like as a computer where we can upload our HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript code. And with the help of network, you can access these pages from different devices, from different network, and this is how you can be you can able to see the website. And in the market, we have three types of server, like the web server, which is basically responsible for serving a web pages, or email server is designed for sending or receiving a mail over the network, and file server is basically designed for uploading or downloading a file over the network. So this is the combinations like about the web ecosystem. Like you can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript part, and you can test your website with the help of browsers. And then if you want your website, which it will be visible or maybe accessible from different devices, or maybe the different network, then you can use a server where you can upload your website, and you can connect with the help of internet, and then we can host our solutions. And then the third, like another terminology is called as the database. Like database is just like a information system where we can store the informations, and where we can apply CRUD operations like create data, read data, or delete data. So in the market, we have a multiple database, like the data structure. Like first one is like the structured database, like where we can store the information in a structured format, or you can use unstructured database where you can store the information in an unstructured way, like the JSON file, or the file format. So in the market, we have a multiple database. Like if you are creating a solutions, and if you want to store the data into the database, so you can use PostgreSQL, MySQL, MongoDB, or maybe Cloud Firestore. There are n number of databases are available. You just need to identify the problem statement, what type of data you have, what type of relations you have within the data, and then you can select the database, and then you can start working on the CRUD operations part. So like with the help of these core the fundamentals, like the website, browser, server, and the database part, you can create a variety of content. Like you can create a solutions, you can create a web applications, you can create a website. It's totally up to you what type of problems you're solving, and you can define the technologies, and then you can start working on it. So now I'll talk about like how we can start a career in the web development. So here we have a track. Like first, you can be a front end developers. Here you just need to focus on the UI part. Like you have a design, and then you can make your design into the website part, like web pages. So you can use HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript, and you can convert your the design UI into the web pages. And here you can use the basic fundamental languages like HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. And then if you have a experience in creating a traditional HTML, CSS, and JavaScript part, then you can go with the framework. Like here you can use Angular, or maybe Vue.js, or maybe the library is called React. So with the help of these frameworks and the library, you can create very dynamic, scalable the web front end applications. Then we have a backend technologies. Like you can be a backend developer. Mainly here you have to work on the database part and the server part. And inside server, you can use any programming languages. But talking about the popularity point of view, so here we have a JavaScript, or maybe it's runtime framework called Node.js. You can use for creating or writing or custom backend business logic, which will collect the data from the database, and you can throw the data into the UI part. And as a UI developer, or we can say front-end developer, can print the data into the UI. Or you can use Python. Python is also the most popular programming languages for the backend part. So here we have a framework like Django, or maybe Fast API, that you can use for creating a backend business logic. Or you can use PHP, and there is a framework called Code Igniter, or maybe the Laravel, that you can also use. And there are more languages like Ruby on Rails, like the Ruby language, and there is a framework called Ruby on Rails that you can also use for making your backend business logic. And as a backend developer, you need to work on the database part. So you can start working on, initially what I'll recommend you to go for the MySQL database, understand the functionalities, like how SQL queries is, perform over the database, how we can collect the data, how we can, perform CRUD operations. And then you can, making, small scale applications to collect the data through the backend logic, and throw, share the data into the UI part. So this is how you can start the journey. And you don't need to you don't need to go for every programming languages. You can select any one programming language. Like you can go with JavaScript, or maybe Node.js, and you can start your career as a backend developer. Or you can go select with the Python. You can still work creating a backend business logic, or we can say the REST APIs with the help of the Python. And then we have a full stack. So full stack is more about like you have an expertise about the front end technologies, and you have expertise about the back end. So you can be a full stack developers. And here we have a three tracks. Like you can be a mean stack developer, MERN stack developer, and MERN stack developer. The changes is just like is a variation in the front end framework. Like if you want to apply for a mean stack developer, or if you want to become a mean stack, then you can have a expertise in the Angular. For Mon, you need a expertise for React, and most you need a expertise in the Vue.js part. So once you have decided these technical stack, then you can start working on it. Let's say I am a front end developer, or maybe I'm a full stack developer, so I can start working on it. I'll create a project, and this is how I started my journey as a web developer. And at the end, like, this is the the goal, like in terms of like we can create a solution in terms of the web solutions, or we can say website with the help of these the tracks. And this is the kind of goal for the every developers, like also somehow a goal of the careers. So this can be a motivations, like at the end, like you can select the technical stack and you can start working on it, or maybe you can create a freelance project, or you can participate in the the hackathon where you can create a solutions. And this is how your journey is going on, and then you can go to the good opportunities, and where you can create solutions and you can create a good impact. And then you can I have also created a lot of code labs about the fundamental part, like how we can get started with HTML, CSS, or the JavaScript. So you can also check out the code lab. It's a step-by-step approach where you can check go these code labs, and you can start working on it. Like let's say if you want to create some REST API, so you can check out the code lab for the REST API, and then you can start working on it. So now I'll talk about like the AI part, because this, we are living in a world of AI, and right now it's 2025, and everything is, it's all about the AI part. So I'll start with the large language models. So what is large language model, or we can say the LLM? So LLM is just like as a machine learning algorithm. They have trained this machine learning algorithm with very large scale data set with the parameters, and it's a pre-trained, and they can generate the content, or we can say it can be a generative AI. So what LLM can do, like it can generate. So you can use LLM for the conversational, or you can use LLM for copywriting, brainstorming, code generations, reasoning, search. There are endless capabilities about the generative AI models, or we can say the LLM. and and like talking about specifically for the Google, so Google is also you know like from past 10 decades, like it's Google is working on a lot for the AI part, like talking about the deep mind, or maybe you can use the transformer model, where you how we can make GPT, how we can make the Gemini models. So you can check out the journey about the Google, like how they are involving, and how they are releasing articles about the AI ecosystem, and then how we can make it more fast, rapid AI solutions. So talking about specifically for the generative AI, what we can say, the large language models, it has a lot of capabilities in terms of, like, you just need to understand the AI models, how how they are, what type of capabilities they have, and what type of solution you can build. So you can go to the link gemini.google.com, and you can explore the Gemini models, and you can generate the code, you can generate images, you can go with the content generation part with the Gemini. So it's a Gemini era. So like with the help of Gemini, you can do multiple things. Like you can use Gemini for image generations, content generation, or maybe the code part. You can use Gemini for the data science, for the analysis, or maybe you can use Gemini for the code generations, or you can deploy the solutions, or you can build the solutions with the help of Gemini. So talking about the generative AI, so it has a lot of capabilities, and you can introduce, you can understand the capabilities, and you can integrate the generative AI features in multiple sectors. Like you can go with the retail sectors, you can create a chatbot which will collect the data from the warehouse, and then you can share the inventories, and you can find the multiple solutions with the help of AI. Or maybe you can go to the finance industries, or maybe healthcare, media, manufacturing. There are endless use cases where you can create a solutions with the help of generative AI part. And talking about the Gemini ecosystem, so how we can you consume the Gemini models. So here we have three solutions. Like if I talk about as a consumer point of view, let's say I'm an end users, I'm not a technical developers. I'm just the simple person. I don't have expertise in the technologies. then I can go with the Gemini applications, or I can go to the Gemini website like gemini.google.com. Here I can access the Gemini models. But we all are the developers as of now. So for the developers perspective, here we have two things, like you can use Google Vertex AI, or you can use individual applications like the Gemini APIs. Or there are an alternative solution is Google Workspace. Like inside Google Workspace, they are providing a multiple support about the Gemini integrations. Like they have added features about the mail. Inside the Gmail, you can collect the data from in your email, and then you can use Gemini, or same with the Google Sheet or maybe Google Docs. So let's talk about the Gemini for the developers. Like, let's say I'm a developers, or let's say I'm working with MNC, how we can consume these models and how we can make the solutions with the help of Gemini. So here we have a three ways. Like let's say if you are working with the enterprises, like there are, let's say, multiple customers, or maybe there are multiple companies who are using our solutions. So we need to focus on the data, the customizations, and the creativity part. So for that, you can use Google Cloud, and inside Google Cloud they are providing a services called Vertex AI, and then you can use Vertex AI for the enterprises point of view. But if I talk about as an individual developers, let's say I'm an individual developer, I'm writing some applications, I'm participating in the hackathon, or maybe creating some freelance project, then you can use Google AI Studio, or you can use Firebase Genkit. So let's get started with the foundation models. Like talking about the foundation models, like Gemini has a multiple variants. You can use Gemini Nano, Gemini Ultra. You can use Gemini. They have a varieties. Like if you want to use on-device machine learning capabilities, then you can use Gemini Nano, or you can use the models version like Gemini 2, Gemini 1.5. So each model have their the capabilities. Like if you want to process some informations over the images or maybe video part, then I would recommend you to go for Gemini 1.5 or maybe Gemini 2. So you can go to the documentations, and you can get to know about the number of tokens, number of the capabilities, what type of things you can process with the help of Gemini. And also we have open source models. Like you can use Gemma, which is an open source. You can customize the model, and then you can deploy it at your infrastructure, and then you can use these models. And also there are third party the use case point of view. Like here we have a Imagine. Like with the help of Imagine, you can generate the images, or if you want to generate a code, then you can use Codely. If you want to generate embedding related things, so we have embedding related Gemini models, or we have a third party models like Claude, or maybe Mistress AI, Meta, the LLM, and the Hugging Face part. So you can find these informations over the Google Cloud platform. So let's say I'm working in enterprises, or maybe I want to consume some applications where I want to add some functionalities about the Gemini. So I can go to the Vertex AI. Inside Vertex AI, there is a section for the model garden, and there are n number of models are available. You just need to select the models, and then you can install the models, and you can follow the documentations. They are providing a REST APIs, and you can integrate those REST APIs in your the front end applications or the back end applications part. But now I'll talk about the Google AI Studio. So Google AI Studio is a it's an interface for the developers where they can consume the Gemini models or the Gemini version. So it's similar to the Chat GPT, but this is more about the developer oriented. Like here you can select the models, you can test your models, you can train your models, you can use Gemini models for the function calling, grounding. There are a number of things that you can also do. So let me share the screen. Like this is a Google AI Studio. So it's a similar interface where we can consume the models. So here we have a section for the model, the selections part. Like on the right side here, we can select the models like Gemini 1.5 or the Flash. And here we have the configurations part, like what are the capabilities we have with the help of Gemini. So you can check the informations, and there is a best use cases like for the low latency, multilingual, and the summarizations part, and there are use cases. So based on the problem statement, you can select the models, and then there is a section for the token, and there is a button for get code. You just need to, if you are working with the Python, so you can click on the Python and you can copy the code and paste it in your browser, and that's it. So you can easily integrate, the Gemini APIs in your applications. Or if you are working with JavaScript or maybe Node.js part, you can just copy the code and paste it, and you just need to install the library for the Google Generative AI part. And this is a similar simple interface. Like here, you can ask a questions like, let's say, travel plan from let's say Singapore to, let's say, Cebu for 5 days. So it's similar thing, like you can select the models. You can get the itineraries, and there are sections for the structural output, code executions, functional calling, and then there are, the configuration related settings that you can easily, use these things. So as I mentioned, like this is a simple, interface like similar to the chat GPT, but it's more about the developer centric. Like here you can select the models, based on, the models, and then you can, do some POCs, and then you can integrate those things in your application, and you can easily create a solutions. And one of the best thing about the Google AI Studio, so they are providing a Gemini API support. Like if you are working on Python, you can, get the code for the Python, and then you can install the library, and then you can integrate the, the Gemini ecosystem. Or same with the Node.js, Swift, or maybe the Java part. So I'll give it a simple example. Like here I'm using Node.js, or we can say the JavaScript part. So first we need to import the library for the Google Generative AI. So here we have imported the library for Google Generative AI. The next section is for, the defining an API key. So you can get the API key from the Google AI Studio. So there is a button to, where you can click on get API, and then you can get the API key. And then we have a, sections like another lines of code for, the selecting a model. So you can select the models like Gemini 1.5 or maybe 1.0 Pro Vision. So you can select the models. And then we have a, the configuration part. Like here we can define the configurations in terms of Gemini. And there are, few more features in terms of like the safety setting. Like I can restrict my AI to generate, some harmful categories of word. So we can apply some restrictions with the help of these safety settings. And then we can define a prompts. Prompt is just like as a questions that we can ask to the AI. Let's say create a travel from plan for, let's say, Cebu from Singapore for 5 days. So I can create this kind of, the prompt. And there is a functions called as generate content, and inside functions we can pass these parameters like the prompt and the generation config and the safety setting, and then you can get the response. So it's a very basic thing, but if I talk about the implementations, I'll recommend you to go for, the code labs, or you can go to the Google AI Studio, and then you can, start working on with the AI part. So but if I talk about in a summary way, you just need to import the library for the Google Generative AI, define the API key, select the models, and then define the prompt, and then you can call the functions name is generate content, and that's it. You can integrate with, the Python, or maybe you can integrate with the Node.js part, or maybe respective platform that you are working on it. So I also created a code labs like getting started with the Gemini. So I'm sharing a link that will be really easy for you, to get started with the Gemini integrations. So this is a code lab, like it's a step-by-step approach. Like I've created. I'm sharing a link in the chat section. Yeah. So this is a, the getting started part. Like let's say I'm a, web developer, and I wanted to create applications with the help of Gemini. So yeah. So here, like there is a simple step. Like let's say I want to create a simple application with the help of Gemini. So I'm not going for the code part. So you can just follow the instructions. Like let's say first you can create a web HTML page, and then you can, uh, create a HTML page, import the libraries, and create a syntax, and then you can call the functions. So I'll recommend you to go for the, follow the code labs, and you can easily create, a simple applications with the help of Gemini integrations and all. So now I'll talk about like building an AI solution is really, really easy as of now, because like if I talk about 2014, creating a full stack application is really, really challenging task, because there is no AI on that particular time. So we need to go for POCs, architecture, database design, security, writing code. There are multiple things. But now with the help of AI, if you have a relevant amount of experience, you can easily create a full stack application in a very, very fast way. So but if I talk about the production ready applications, like let's say I'm working with enterprises where we have a multiple, components, where we have a multiple dependency, and creating a, this kind of AI enabled applications, it's a kind of challenging task, because there will be a lot of complexity. Like there will be a services, there will be a microservices, there will be a components, there will be a controllers, and then you just need to check the security part as well as. So creating a AI enabled applications in terms of enterprises point of view, it's a kind of challenging task for the developers. And for that, like we have another technical stack we can call as LLM app stack, where you just need to focus on the securities, because what type of questions, like the prompt, is it right way to store the prompt engineering part into the database part or not, or like how we can collect the data from the AI, and then AI will give the response to the users. So it's a very complex architecture that we need to follow. But and there are a lot of things, like talking about the large language models, or we can say the Gemini. So here we have a multiple solutions, like the OpenAI is providing a GPT models, or Google is providing a Gemini models, or maybe the Meta is providing a Llama models, or maybe there are another models, like the DeepSeek, or there are multiple models are available in the market. So sometimes you need to integrate all of these models into your single applications, and there will be a lot of complexity, because each model, the function calling approach is different, integration is different, and the response is different, and maintaining this kind of models and tracking those things, it will be challenging task for the developers. And this is a kind of journey for the developers, like to integrate these models, like let's say in one application I'm consuming OpenAI models, Google models, and Meta models, and maintaining observabilities, tracking, logging. There are a lot of challenges in terms of how we can generate the outcome from the AI part. So this is how, like the kind of journey we all are facing in terms of developer point of view. But here Google is, this is a kind of like talking about another challenges is like how we can monitor these models. Like let's say in our applications I'm using, let's say, 5 6 models, then we need to monitor those models, like in terms of generations, like what type of content is generating, either the content is relevant or not, or irrelevant or not. So we can we just need to monitor those things as well as. And then scaling is really tough task, because if you are creating a very large scale applications, then there is a challenges for the scalability part, debugging, no production quality. This is the kind of challenges. So that's why, like, Firebase Genkit came into the picture. So it's a full stack framework. It's a Node.js library, or we can say the full stack framework that you can install in your Node applications or in your backend applications. And it's an open source library. You just need to install in your system, and then you can use Genkit, and you can create a very scalable application, or we can say full stack applications in a very fast way with the help of Genkit. So what Genkit is solving, so Genkit is providing a model interface, like it's just like it's a single functions, and inside single functions, you just need to change the function's name, the model name. So let's say I want to consume Gemini models, so I've written Gemini Pro Vision. I want to consume, let's say, Meta models like the Llama, so I can just replace Gemini Pro Vision with Llama. If I want to get a response from, let's say, uh, DeepSeek, then I can replace with the DeepSeek models, and then you can use Gemini. And the process is really simple. Like if you are working with the HTMLs, the web development part, or if you are working with Node.js, you just need to install the Genkit in your system, in your the Node.js applications. You can initialize the Genkit library, and then they will give you the CRA will ask you the questions, like the configuration, the TypeScript part, the JavaScript part, and then you can start the Genkit, and that's it. And then you can call the model interface. Model interface is just like the simple the functions where you can select the models, and you can also perform drag implementations. You can do a function calling, you can do a what we can say, uh, grounding and all. So you can these implement these things, and you can easily create solutions in terms of fast way for the Gemini. So with the help of these things, like you can build anything, and you just need to focus on the problem statement, and you can identify the models. You can call the Gemini APIs, and you can do a prompt engineering part, and then you can implement the application in a very easy way. So like it's totally up to you, like if you are participating in the hackathon, so there are multiple the categories where we can create a solutions. So you can identify the categories, and where you can do some the productivities, or maybe you can reduce the turnaround time by providing a, let's say, XYZ solutions with the help of AI. So you can do this kind of things with the help of AI. So now I'll talk about the code lab part. Like I'll give you the simple applications. So I'll show you the simple application that I have created as of now for this the workshop. So it's a funny tech memers. So let's say I'm working with the Python. So I'll write Python. So the funny tech memer is just like, will share the technology name, and then AI will give me the the memes in terms of 3-word sentence. Let's say Python. What is Python in terms of in a funny way? Snacks wrote code, or we can say, let's say, Java. So Java is code, coffee coded jobs. So it's a very easy way. You just need to go to the code lab. So I've created a code labs. I'll not go to the code part. Like you can just check out the code lab. Like I've created like meme stack tracker. So I'm sharing a link, and you can follow the code labs. Uh, yeah, sharing a link. So it's a simple things, like first we need to import the, we can create a simple HTML page, and then we can, we can have an input field, and then we can collect the data from the HTML page, the DOM element, and then you can do some prompt engineering, and you can call the APIs. So this is really easy way. You can implement these things. So I'll give you the, the overview, the architecture part, like how we can implement those things. So first thing, like for what we can do, like for creating an this type of applications like tech meme, funny tech memers. So first we need a HTML page. So we can create a HTML page, and this is a like we can create a HTML page with the help of HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. And then if you want to restrict the users, like only authenticated user can access the applications. So here you can use Firebase authentication or any other authentication library to restrict the users. And then what you can do, you can collect the data from the UI, and then you can create a backend business logic, and then you can call the APIs for the Gemini, and then you can get the response, and then you can deploy this entire solutions over the Firebase, and this is how you can create a solutions. So I'll give you the simple, the idea, like this first thing, like we have imported the library for the Gemini, and then we have the API key, the model part. So here I'm using Gemini 2, and this is a context in terms of prompt engineering part. And when the user will click on that particular button, so here we need to call the the function's name, and here we can collect the data, and then we can define the prompt, and then we can call the the function's name is generate content, and then we can get the response, and you can print those response with the help of JavaScript to the UI part, and that's it. So there are more the use cases I have also created. Like you can just go to the link graders.dev, and here I have created a multiple options, like in terms of like creating a AI itinerary, or maybe creating a memes, or maybe creating some slides, or maybe creating some REST APIs. And there are also advanced level code labs where you want some you want to create some productivity in terms of the AI agents, like how we can create an AI agent where the AI will check all the resources through the internet, and then give them the response through the the internet and all. So you can do these things with the help of Gemini. So you can check out the code labs I've shared in the sessions. And at the end, I would like to share one things, like AI is good, and you can do a productivity, you can create a smart things, and where you can you can reduce the turnaround time, you can do a smart things with the help of AI. But I'll recommend you to go with the basic fundamentals, like the use cases part. Like a safe AI is better than the AI for everyone. So there are guidelines, like the best practices, like where we can implement the AI, what are the best practices, how we can store the data, where to store, which type of information we can store in our database, which type of informations we can share with the the AI part. So you can, checking the responsible AI guidelines provided by the Google. So you just need to go to the, Google and search responsible AI, the best practices. So here you can get the guidelines in terms of AI implementations, what what to do, what not to do. So you can check out these guidelines and you can build the solutions. And talking about the resources, you can check out the link like web.dev for the web development part, google.ai for Google AI related things. Like if you want to, explore multiple features, multiple models, multiple, the possibilities, the news update, then you can go with the google.ai. And for the Firebase, like the deployment and the authentications, you can go to the docs like Firebase docs. And then for the code lab, like you can go to link greatest.dev, and here you can check out the code labs for Gemini integrations and all. And also, I've written multiple articles about the AI integrations, the Firebase. So you can, go to the Medium, and then you can, search my name, and you will find multiple articles about AI and the Firebase part. And also, I have a YouTube channel named is Tech Ferment. I'm creating a resources about the Firebase and all. So you can also check out the link. And I'm also working as a DevRel, so it's more about the AI ecosystem. So you can also create a, it's a no-code platform. It's a visual builder where you can, easily create a AI solutions with the help of Lamatic. And that's all. I hope like you learned something new about the AI implementations and the using and all. So I'm looking forward to you all to build amazing solutions with the help of AI. And that's it, like from my end. And yeah, so thank you so much. And yeah, I'm active, I'm a developer, I'm a traveler. So like feel free to connect with me. And if you have any questions, like you can also reach out to me or LinkedIn, Instagram, or maybe Facebook. So yeah, that's all. So it's time for the questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Raj. We have a question which says, what advice would you give to beginners who want to contribute to open source projects?
Okay, so you just need to go to the GitHub, and you can find a multiple, the projects. So let's say if you are learning, let's say HTML, CSS, or the JavaScript part, so you can go to the GitHub, and in the search section you can select the technologies like HTML, and then you will find a multiple, repositories, and where you can select one of the repositories and you can start contributing. So I'll recommend you to go with the basic, the step-by-step journey. Let's say 0 step, like search the repositories, and then you can identify the, install those repository in your local machines, and then figure out what type of problems they have, what type of solutions you wanted to introduce, and then you can start working with, the open source part.
Okay, thank you so much. On YouTube, we have a question. How can web technologies be used to create accessible and inclusive digital platforms that address social issues like we are dealing with in the solution challenge?
Yes. So there are a lot of things. So this is one of the best use cases. Like as of now, we are also creating one solutions. So what you can do here, you can use AI. So let's say I'm asking a one question to the AI. AI will understand the questions, and then inside AI there is a concept of functional calling. So where you can, call the APIs, and APIs will collect the data from the Google search result, or from internet, and then you can also use AI to, identify the content, this, the ranking part, like the whether the content is natural or not. So you can use this kind of concept, like for implementing this kind of solutions.
Great. I see another question. Just a second. Yeah. This says, what are the limitations of running AI models directly in the browser using WebAssembly or TensorFlow?
You can use, but I'll recommend you to go with the backend part, like creating a REST APIs, because consuming these models directly over the browsers, there will be a lot of concern about the API key and the computer, the uses. Like let's say if you have a very, heavily, you have written a very complex JavaScript logic, so it will be run over the browser, and it depend on the, the complexity of your RAM and the system. So I would recommend you to go with the backend, or you can use WebAssembly, and then you can start working on, the applications part.
Great. Thank you so much. If anyone has any other questions, you can just type it in the chat box, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can just type it in the live chat and we'll be happy to take them up. I don't see any other questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Raj, for being here. It was a wonderful session, and I'm sure all of us took a lot away from it. So thank you so much for taking up the time and being here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.